What is up, guys and girls? This is Brandon on Brandon Coin, and I am back. This is going to be the GTX 1060 build revisited. This is actually my first official mining rig that I built back in late last year. I ended up going with the single fan Zotac Mini GTX 1060 6GB cards. The reason why I was doing that is because I was worried about, because I was going to be mining on some Equihash and also some Ethereum, and I didn't know how fast the DAG file was going to grow on Ethereum, and I was worried about the 3GB cards getting booted off, which I've heard from people. I don't have any of the 3GB GTX 1060s, but I've heard about some of the 3GB cards on Windows are no longer allowed to mine Ethereum or Dagger Hashimoto because of the Windows allocates some of the VRAM on the card, and it doesn't allow it to have enough to actually load the DAG file. I don't know if that's the technical breakdown or not, but some people have told me if you run it on Linux like SMOS or HiveOS or Ethos, you can actually still mine with the 3GB 1060s. I just advise against them most of the time because it's limiting your range of what you can actually mine. Now if you're looking at mining like Ravencoin or Equihash or basically almost anything else except for Ethereum, then you're fine, because everything else's DAG file is well under 3GB. But this is specifically about this rig, and it's all 1066 gigs. So let me flip the camera around and we'll pan over and show you what we got. Alright, so just to go over this and let y'all know like a base roundabout of what I have the H110 D3A motherboard. Actually, let me cut these fans off real quick just in case. I don't know if that's killing the sound. So we have an H110 D3A motherboard. I went ahead and set the box right here just so you know what I'm talking about, because I may speak too fast or too slow for some people. This motherboard supports 6 graphics cards. It does have an M.2 slot, but that does not support a 7th graphics card. And then we have the Zotac 1060 6GB models, and also an Intel Pentium. This is the G4400. So got the Pentium G4400. We're not mining on the CPU. And then here's all these Zotac Mini single fans. So these are really simple cards. They have one 6-pin plug on top. And the way I have these run is I have a 450 watt power supply and a 650 watt power supply. If I was going to do this again, I would not do it this way. Actually, I'm going to be switching over and putting a server power supply in this in addition to the 650, just because I don't think a 650 and a 450 really are enough. I was actually running into power problems, and if you'll notice, I have five 1060s and then one 1050. I ended up taking one of the 1060s out and selling it. I just got a little short on cash one week. That was a couple months back. I wish I wouldn't have, because I sold it off. Well, actually, you know what? I made money on them, because when I bought all these 1060s, I got them for $229 a piece. This was before the big graphics card hike in price, so I still made quite a bit of money. But I don't like selling off my graphics cards, because it's kind of like selling off your money trees. Why would you ever sell off your money trees? Because they're always going to constantly be making money. But back to the setup, I have 4GB of DDR4 RAM. I'm running everything off of the USB on Simple Miner OS or SMOS. I have the I'm running the splitter cable to run 2 ATX power supplies. So it's this cable right here. It plugs into one of the 24 pins, and then it has another cable to plug into the other 24 pin back there, if you can see that. And then the splitter cable plugs into the actual motherboard. So that works out flawlessly, and I've really had no issues other than these cards the 1060s, if you put them too close together, they run a little hot, especially these single fan models. I don't know if that's more of a Zotac design, because I have some other bigger cards like 1080s that don't have any problem, but they're not the single fan. And this is obviously a cheap cooler. It's just a single aluminum like monoblock, no heat tubes, nothing crazy like that. So I'm not going to blame the actual 1060 design. I think I'm going to lean more towards it's the cooling solution that came on these cards, but these are not mining specific cards, so I'm not necessarily gonna, you know, I didn't note what I was doing in the beginning. Would I buy these single fan cards again? If I was going to put them in a desktop, yes. For a mining rig, unless I got a good deal on them again, I would not buy them. I would actually stay away from them and go more towards a dual fan, either an MSI card or the amp editions if I was really stuck on buying Zotac stuff. Oh yeah, and just a little side note about cooling. I put these two fans blowing through the cards just to get that hot air out of there. These cards run stable between about 65 to 70 degrees Celsius. This is my mining room. If you haven't seen some of the videos on it before, I do have one AC unit up here now. It's a 5,000 BTU AC unit. It stays running 24/7. And this room stays, I'd say right now it's about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and outside it's about 93 degrees Fahrenheit. So it keeps it relatively cooled off for the amount of cards that I have in here. I have 3 rigs. So my other rig is downstairs. I'm going to be moving it up here soon. I just have to do another electrical run. But let's go jump down on the computer and I'll show you what these look like and what they're hashing out and the profitability, and if it makes sense to still buy these GTX 1060s in 2018. So let's go. What is up, guys and gals? This is Brandon Coin, and I'm back here. We just were walking around upstairs checking out the mining cave upstairs, but now I wanted to go through and show y'all the current prices on some of the hardware that I'm using in my 1060 build and see if it makes sense for you. Now I'm using the G4400s. These processors were going all day long for $35 to $39. They're a little inflated now. I mean, it says the MSRP is $51, but these should be like a $40 processor, honestly. So now, instead of going with the G4400, I would more recommend a 3900 or the 3930, because you can consistently find those in the $30 price range. And if you're just going to be running the system on Linux, it does not need the extra horsepower from the 4400. But yeah, those are $46 right now. Jumping over here to the motherboard, the H110D3A has fell out of the spotlight for being one of the a good starter mining motherboards. And the reason why is you can get a Gigabyte Z270DP3, I think it is, which is a motherboard that supports 7 graphics cards for basically the same price. And also the Z270 has 3 full-size slots on it, whereas the H110 only has 1 full-size slot. So the Z270 is actually a better starter motherboard because you don't even need risers for your first 3 cards. You can just plug them straight in the motherboard and then get your risers later on when you grow past 3 cards. Whereas this one only supports 1 right off the bat. So you have to have risers right away. These have fallen back down to their MSRP of $79. At one time in mid-December, these things were upwards of $180 a board. So luckily I never bought them at that time, but I always got mine for a decent deal because I have 2 of these right now. But yeah, still a solid motherboard. I've had no issues with mine, and my GTX 1060 system has been running for 6 months basically straight. Some people ask me if I turn my systems off to let them breathe, and the only time I turn my systems off is if I'm moving them. Other than that, they run 24/7. So now jumping over here to the horsepower, and you can actually see when I bought my card right here, November 3rd. These are when I bought the 6 gigabyte cards. The price is still heavily inflated on these things. Do not listen to this list price right here. $329 is highway robbery. These cards were supposed to be $229, and I think I paid $239. So back then I was like, man, I'm not getting a good deal. And little did I know that these cards were about to skyrocket through the roof on price. So yeah, I wish I would have bought like a ton more of them and just been like a graphics card distributor, because at the time, man, graphics cards were going for what they should have been going for, actually. So yeah, November was right before the big hike. But anyway, $299. I don't suggest buying these. These are not a good buy at $299, and I'll show you why here in a second. But you can actually get the minis, which are the 3 gigabytes, for $251, or you can get the amp edition for $315. If you were dead set on buying 1060s, I'd be going for a dual fan, either amp edition or look at a dual fan MSI. But that $300 price range is still a lot to pay for a 1060. I mean, a 1060 is going to be a $1 a day card, roughly, give or take. So just keep that in mind. You're looking at the better part of a year to pay one of these off. But now jumping over to, I built a little quick spreadsheet right here. I just laid it out with the GTX 1060s. I paid $239 a piece times 6. The H110 D3A I got for $79. G4400 for $39. 4 gigs of DDR4 back then was about $50. It's come down now. It's in the $40 range. For my power supplies, I'm just gonna allot $80 because at the time I was like, you know, Frankensteining them together, so I don't know what my cost was. Risers, I ended up having to go through 2 sets of risers, so I'm putting my riser budget at $80 on here just because I wasted some money. Looking at a total of $1,761, and then with tax and to round up, we'll just call it a cool $1,900. And that's almost exactly what I spent, if I recall correctly, because my budget was $2,000. I want to build a mining rig, and I only got $2,000 to do it. So at the end of it, I didn't basically have any money left over, less than $100. So I'm right on par with where I was. Originally, I stuck these cards on NiceHash in the beginning, but then NiceHash got hacked not even a month after I started mining. So then I put them on Ethereum. I was getting steady between 125 to 135 mega hash on the system, and at current rates today, that comes out to about $6.98. So I've been running for 6 months straight. At the current rate, that's $1,256. But guys, let me let you know that if you've been watching a lot of YouTubers and they've mined through that November, December, January era right there, this system, this 1060 system made a lot more money than that. I would see upwards of $20 to $25 a day on this system alone. And what I was doing is I was taking all that money that I was making and buying more graphics cards with it. That's why I have so many of these 1050s, and then I was able to end up getting 1050 Ti's, and then I bought some 1080s, and basically all my farm, which, you know, I have a baby farm. I only have like a little over 20 GPUs now, but all of my farm was paid for from this first initial system. Okay, sorry about that. I got a phone call, but anyway, just to pick up where we were left off. So when I was mining through that December, November, January stretch, everything was significantly more profitable than what it is today. So this system has paid itself off and also allowed me to buy a lot more graphics cards. And I only wish that I would have started sooner, but even still at this day and time with these kind of rates, it is absolutely 100% profitable. I was doing the math on it upstairs, and I'm pulling about 90 watts per card. So when you break that down, let's say 90 times 6, and we're gonna allow the motherboard, I don't know, 20 watts, just because, I mean, I'm not even running a hard drive, but we're saying 560 watts times 24 hours, divide that by 1,000, that gives us 13.4 kilowatts per day. Now you times your kilowatts by your rate that you're getting charged. I get charged 0.09 or 9 cents per kilowatt hour. So this system costs me $1.20 a day running 24/7. And now if I take that away from the 6.98 that it's making, you know, I'm looking at $5.75. You know, it's a $5, almost $6 a day system just to run. So it's almost like, why wouldn't you let this thing run every single day that it makes money? Because who's going to be mad about coming home to a $6 bill in your house just chilling? I mean, nobody's going to be mad about money being there. My girlfriend does freak out whenever she sees the electricity bill, and I've thought about actually making a video and going into that and showing y'all not necessarily how much I pay, but how much electricity I actually use, and you can kind of figure it out for yourself. But I don't know. My girlfriend says she wants to keep that stuff kind of confidential, which, you know what, that I understand it. But so yeah, luckily the mining farm ends up paying for a majority of the electricity. And so yeah, my girlfriend, because of that fact, she likes mining. If it wasn't paying for anything, she would absolutely hate it. But not to get off track, just to let y'all know. So at current rates, to pay this system off at $1,900, let's see what we're working with. 19 divided by 6.98. Looking at 272 days. So less than a year. But I mean, you're still, whew, you're still 9 months into it. So you're looking at like 3/4 of a year to pay the system off, which with everything and how it's going is not bad. I know I used to preach it and tell everybody, you know, try to get cards or buy hardware that's 100 days or less return on investment. Well, those days are gone. That time is over. We're just not going to see that anytime soon. So in the meantime, you know, I'm looking at stuff, and my new gauge for if I buy it or if I don't buy it, I try to look for the 250-day return on investment or less. If it's less than 250 days, you know, I'm gonna be here and I'm gonna be mining for a while, so I can get it. I'll plan on getting it. Currently, I am looking at getting a 1070 Ti, and a 1080 Ti just to fill out my range of cards that I don't currently have. Oh, and also a RX 570, because I want to have one of each card. Well, I don't have an RX 550 either. So, but I want to have one of each card for my daily hash rates videos. And then whenever the new cards drop, I want to be absolutely ready to buy up some new cards. Hopefully the prices won't be through the roof on them. I have a feeling they will be, the 1180s and 11 whatever. I'll probably start my way from the bottom, 1150s, 1160s, and go from there. But yeah, so if you guys like these kind of rig revisited videos, I can definitely do them more often, and because I have, you know, a couple more, and I also have a couple ideas that I'm going to be changing around. So I'm looking at doing a GTX 1080 build, because I do have three 1080s currently, and I was thinking about filling it out with the two 1070 Ti, and 1080 Ti to make it a full 6-card system. But that's a whole nother video. So thank you guys for watching. This is Brandon on Brandon Coin, and I will see y'all later on. So adios.